this new coronavirus. At that time, we were calling it that. And then you might have heard at that time. It seems like so long ago already now, but that was in end of January and early February. And I think the first time my office had sent out notice and SOPs on it was on the 1st of February, and that was a Saturday. That was when the Vice Chancellor was overseas and I was functioning in his place. Thank God it was only for a short while. It was at the very beginning. And then when Datuk Rahim came back and then took over the helm, and I could just concentrate, my team, could just concentrate on getting things together that has to do with teaching and learning. So I think everybody already knows what we had gone through in terms of changing everything into online teaching and learning. Initially, we had announced that we were going to go online, and then suddenly we had to tell people, no, we're not going to be able to go online. And that was when the first MCO came about. So since the Ministry of Higher Education at that time told us that we cannot conduct our lessons online, we quickly moved the academic calendar, so that our semester break could coincide with the PKP. The first one was on the 13th of March until, I don't remember already. It seems like so long ago, but that was the first stint. Yeah. It was, sorry, it wasn't the 13th. It was the 18th of March until the 31st of March. That was the first MCO. So we were in the middle of the week, but we moved our academic calendar so that, the semester break could take place to coincide with the MCO, because we were told that we couldn't do anything online. But since it was first announced on the 13th of March that we were going to go online, before we were stopped from going online, some of our students had actually started going back home, so there was no real, when there was that on social media, in the news, when there were droves of students going back home and all that, our students actually had started going back home a bit earlier because they knew that we were going online. So anyway, just to get that out of the way, just to let you know that there were a few times that we had to move the calendar because this is really an evolving situation. And of course, everybody knows that this is an unusual as well as unprecedented situation that we are in. So there were different actions that we had to take, and different decisions were made. And unfortunately, some people were very uncomfortable with that because of the changing instructions. But we tried to make it as smooth as possible by sending out constant communication, either through your deans, your deputy deans, through email, and of course the official channel through the corporate communications office. What we were most preoccupied with these last few weeks were to ensure that our students will not have any difficulty in getting their lessons online. So unfortunately for our students, they've had to go through quite a number of surveys. So I think that was quite unfortunate, because we really needed to drill down and deep dive on who the students were and how we actually could reach them. So the first survey was basically just to understand, and categorize students who didn't have any problems with connectivity and students who had very poor or no connectivity. So when we were able to sort that out in the first survey, then we zoomed in on the second survey where we needed to find out exactly where the students were and what kind of support they actually could have for themselves, their family background and all that. And at the same time, when we were doing that survey, we couldn't really exactly tell how we were going to support, because at the same time we were doing a lot of negotiations and we were doing a lot of discussions with Celcom. Now it's all out in the open, so now everybody knows that what had happened was we did the survey at the same time as trying to strike a deal with Celcom to assist some of our students. So the thing is, when we were doing that, we couldn't really announce what kind of support the university was going to provide, because even we didn't know. We didn't know how the deal was going to be made. We didn't know whether we were going to come to a definite deal, a package deal. So at that time, there were two different scenarios. If everything works out for Celcom, then as you have already discovered, that was what we had intended to do. We had wanted to identify students who will qualify for the Celcom package, and then if that didn't work out, and if the MCA was lifted, we already had the details of the students who had low connectivity. We knew where they lived. We had their addresses through that survey that we did. So the plan was to bring them back in stages to campus. So there were 2 or 3 different plans that we had put into place to see which one we would be able to implement based on the environment that we were going to go into. So, so now we know that the PKP is, or the MCO is, extended further, and you would have heard the PM announce last night that, it's going to go on until the 28th of May, and he also hinted that it might go on even longer than that. So we just have to be continuously planning on what's next, because we have so many different plans, but which one do we take up based on the environments that we get into at that when the time comes. It was a very long answer for your question. It was a very simple question.
Well, it's a complex situation. It's a
Okay, we
very,
lost.
very complex situation. So I think
Yeah.
that's probably okay. Yes, thank you so much. By the way, everybody, there is a present now button at the bottom. Please try to not click on it. Sometimes it's accidental, that's fine, but do try to avoid clicking on it if you can, because when someone clicks on it, then it takes over the presentation from the person that's actually supposed to present. Okay, so Prof, thank you so much for sharing about some of the things that have been going on, which I think not all of us, that was my computer, not all of us are actually fully aware about things that are going on behind the scenes and negotiations that cannot actually be, said until it's all completed. So as you know, Prof, we had collected a number of questions and comments that the university community, especially the lecturers, would like to share. And unfortunately, I think we got a couple of dozen comments and questions. So unfortunately, we won't be able to actually go through each and every single one of them. But many of them are actually quite the same. So what we have done is actually to cluster or to do a little bit of qualitative research analysis in a way, those questions. So there are actually 3 main themes from the comments that are coming in. Firstly is about internet access. Secondly is about exams, basically, an assessment. And thirdly is about the challenges of working from home. So, just to sum up some of the many questions that we have received that are quite similar, I will start off with a question about internet access. So, Prof, you mentioned just now that the university has actually dealt with Celcom for internet access for a group of students, but there are questions from some students and also a number of staff asking if that deal can be extended to other students and also to staff who may not have internet access.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mentioned the way we had gone about trying to identify the students with no connectivity. The initial numbers were actually very low when we did the survey. But my worry was at that time was that we will not be able to reach the large majority of students. So we had gone about doing the survey in well, you all know if I say we triangulated. So we had tried to, get um, the survey done through blasting, um, through faculties, through HEP, through student portals, and we had tried all various different ways to try to get as many of the students to respond. So we actually got quite a good number at the second stage of the survey, because there was a lot of effort done by everybody. Of course, my team of people did the most work, but it was also with a lot of assistance from all staff, and I'm sure students also, got the word around that we were doing this survey. Just that, as I mentioned just now, they didn't know what kind of support we were giving and what we were going to do with the findings of the survey. But anyway, after we got the second survey done, we had collected the raw data, and we had cleaned up the data, and then we had submitted to the faculties. So at that time, my intention was that for faculties to also help reach out to as many students as they could, uh, not just based on the list that we gave them. More importantly, was to reach out to those students who were not in the list. So my worry was actually we didn't manage to get to everybody, but a good number came back. And as I mentioned just now, when we were working with Celcom, it's the first time that Celcom uh, did something like this. And I think everybody saw what kind of package it was. Um, and they were very, very good because they really wanted to help our students. But in the initial communication with them was they had requested that I don't share this um, with people outside of the university, because they were not ready to publicize, and they were not ready to market this to other universities or even to JPT. In fact, they said that please just keep it within first, because we have not finalized everything. And true enough, after we finalized everything and they gave us the package, and it's a really good deal. Uh, it's actually all in all, the package is like about 50 gig, I think, and what they're charging is way, way, way below market price. And after going back and forth with us on it, and then they finally, finalized everything. We signed all the documents and all that. Um, and then yesterday, I got word from the Ministry of Higher Education that they had opened it up to all other universities as well. But I mean, that's a good thing, because it made me very uncomfortable that we were doing this with Celcom. It's such a good deal, and we're not sharing it with other people. So I didn't really feel comfortable about that. But I'm glad that they opened it up. I'm also glad that we went in first, because we were able to get all the groundwork done. We had the list of the students' locality, and we managed to send it to Celcom, and Celcom actually packed everything with the offer letter, with the SIM card and all that, and they had already sent out to the to our students, to our identified students. And in the middle of doing all that, they had loads and loads and loads of inquiries coming in from other universities. Now, oh, by the way, they took on a lot actually, Celcom, because they sent the SIM cards to students free of charge. They didn't charge us for that. What they charged us is only for the package, and that was again, a good deal. One of the what was it? Well, one of the requirements from Celcom was that they cannot deal with individual students, or they cannot deal with individuals. So it had to be a corporate account. Okay, so we knew that we were going to pay for it. By the way, I know students are here. Students are not paying for this, yeah? is paying for this. So that's why the number cannot be that large. You might have seen in on Facebook that it is published that up to 2,000 students. But in actual fact, the ones who responded to us with with information that they don't have connectivity, with very little connectivity and all that, the number is way below 2,000. So at first when we did the first survey, it was like very few. But because I was not confident that we reached out to everybody, so again, like I said, we did more to reach out to more students. So in the end, it came to close to 2,000, but we knew we could not actually go beyond that because it's not in bulk, it's not cheap for the university. So anyway, the requirement is that it has to come through the corporate account. So they will not deal with individual students, and they will not deal with individual staff. So as far as staff is concerned, there had been discussions on this. We have not actually come to any kind of decision yet on how we're going to go about it. But I believe the Pendaftar has also sent out a survey to staff to find out about quite a number of things, and one of them is actually internet connectivity. But it will not be free for staff. Okay, so that's one thing that I can say for sure for now. Okay, so that's, I hope that's the answer to the question. Dr. Amira, are you there? Dr. Amira is a bit. I see that. I think she might not be responding right now. But if perhaps I can carry on a little bit. One of the other things which I did not mention just now on the first question on what we had been doing behind the scenes that people might not know about, much of it is actually already known now. For instance, the stepping up of training for academic staff on e-learning. We all know that ADAC has been training academic staff in all kinds of areas, including e-learning and alternative assessments. But that was just one part of what ADAC had done in terms of training academic staff in various different areas and various different fields. But ever since the MCO, what we had done was to increase the number of training, increase the number of the variety and form of training that EDEC conducts on e-learning, the different kinds of delivery methods in online teaching. They have also included a lot of training on alternative assessments. So I am really truly appreciative of the very hard work that EDEC had put in this course. And what I am also discovering is that all the programs and all the courses that EDEC has been providing from the start of MCO is really, really very well attended, and many actually are oversubscribed, that they had to increase the number of groups, and finally went into Telegram and all sorts of platforms and so on. So I'm really, really appreciative about that. The other thing that we had ensured that we put into place was a guideline, a general guideline that everybody can refer to, academic staff. Yeah, I'm talking about that all academic staff will have a set of guidelines on online teaching and learning, which also included alternative assessments, and incorporated with quality assurance into the online teaching and learning. So the professional bodies, so some of you probably come from faculties that offer professional programs, engineering for one, dentistry, medical, quantity surveying, architecture, interior design, and so on. So, accountancy. So, that our university has many programs that are professionally accredited. So from the start of our MCO, the various different deans also have reached out to the various boards, the various lembaga and the boards and so on, to update them on our online teaching and learning and alternative assessments. So they have all come back to us with no exceptions. They have all come back to us to say that they are in full support of our online teaching and learning. They are in full support of our alternative assessment methods. So you can name me any of the boards, and I can tell you that all of them, have given us their assurance that this is the time to evolve and to revolutionize our programs, because we have to be ready for what's going to happen in the industry beyond MCO, beyond 2020. So, what we will need to do is we need to take advantage of the feedback that we're getting from the industry, the feedback that we're getting from the professional boards, to say that they are in full support of all the steps that we are taking and the implementation of online learning, and and they are encouraging us to be more creative in how we are delivering our courses. And when I say online teaching and learning, it doesn't always mean through the internet. It doesn't always mean it is through synchronous or teaching. It doesn't always mean that we are on Google Meet or Skype or Zoom or Teams all the time. It can be done through low tech, by email. It can be done asynchronously. That means not at the same time. So, which means that lecturers may record their lectures and put it on Spectrum, and students can take their time in listening to the lecture, and all sorts of ways. And you would have gone through all the courses that EDEC had come up with. if I can just go on to Dr. Amira, you're back. Are you back? So when you are on okay, when you are in class through this e-learning, I think one of the things that you probably will want to do is also to make use of the chat, make use of the chat facility if you're using Spectrum. Now, one of the things that we discovered over the years is when we do the weekly online e-learning week, yeah, every year since 2016, when Prof. Awang had started this, we had constantly improved on the system because we were able to, during e-learning week, identify various different glitches and identify the gaps and what our capacity might be like. So over the years since 2016 until this year, we have improved on the system that we have. Now, a lot of people actually very worry of going online, and people are always commenting, I hope Spectrum will be okay. I hope it will not crash. I hope. But I believe this was early days, because the last time we had 100% e-learning was during the haze last year. So during the haze, what PTM did was, in the first couple of hours, or the first the first 2-3 hours was the worst, when when there was an the system was too heavy, or rather the people who were using the system were too many. So what they did was they switched off the chat. Just now I just mentioned that you make use of the various different facilities on Spectrum. So they turned off the chat so that it's not too heavy on the system, so lessons can carry on. So instead of using the chat facility. But even then, when we were doing it during the haze period, at the end of it, at the end of every session that we do e-learning, there is a postmortem, and there is feedback and a report on what the glitches were and what the gaps were. So that's when PTM will continuously improve. And in fact, I think during the haze, it was 93% performance, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely it was beyond 90%, but I think it was like 93% or 95%, which I thought was really, really fantastic, So I'm really, really confident we will be able to get through this, because I have a lot of confidence in the staff of UM, and I have a lot of confidence in the academic staff of UM, and I have a lot of confidence in the students of UM. So, this too will pass. So we will get through this.
Yeah, that's definitely true, Prof. I'm back, by the way.
Yeah,
My apologies.
I noticed.
Just now. Prof, thank you for sharing all about that. And indeed, definitely, this will pass. But at the moment, while we are going through it, I think quite a lot of people are facing quite a number of challenges. And some of the questions that we've received here, we'll need to get back to the question of assessment and also curriculum. But if I may just pose some of the questions received here. There are lecturers saying that it's very difficult to work from home because they just cannot focus because of children. There's no childcare, and they're asking, is there any way that UM can actually support lecturers and staff working from home and facing these difficulties?
Support in what way? Yeah, during the MCO, we all know that everybody has to stay home. Everybody has to work from home, has to go to school from home. I mean, homeschooling, um, and nobody is supposed to get out of the house. So, in terms of what we are going through now, and I think everybody is hearing the same thing I am, which is, in fact, I said this myself in one of the news articles, that was published when they interviewed me. This is the new normal. There's no way we are going to go back to how it was before. So basically, even though I said that, I have full confidence in UM staff and academic staff and students, one thing that we have to, the sooner we accept this, the sooner that we are not in denial, the easier I think it is for us. We have to accept that this is the new normal, and we are not going to go back to, once the MCO is over, and even as COVID-19 is eradicated from Malaysia, or hopefully the world, um, we are not going to go back to how it was before. So we need to, the sooner we accept that, the easier it is for us to move on, and adapt to the new normal, and to adapt to the new environment, and to adapt to the new uh, working environment, and how we are functioning right now. As I mentioned earlier, all the professional boards are in full support of how we are delivering our lessons right now. And also, I don't know, Dr. Amira, I don't know whether you have missed it. I mentioned that as they are in full support of what we are doing, they are also telling us to use our creativity to revolutionize our curriculum. This is how the delivery system is going to be. Whether it is going to be 100% e-learning, which I know for some programs, it's not possible to be 100% e-learning. But I heard myself in the meeting with the CEOs of the boards, of the professional boards, they have adapted, and they have opened up their minds and the way they think on how we can actually find alternatives to some of the face-to-face teaching and learning that usually takes place in the program. I can tell you that the people who attended the meeting yesterday was online. Yeah, MMC was there. BM, the engineering body was there. Okay, the architects were there. The dentistry was there, and the counselors was there. So all in all, nursing was there. I can go on, but all in all, they are adapting the way they think to the new normal, and they expect us to go along with whatever we are doing right now, and move on to the coming semesters and the coming years in delivering our programs with this in mind. And of course there will be portions of the program where we can't help but having face to face. So more and more we should be looking at offering more courses online, either fully online or blended, or through micro credentialing, or through transfer of credit if we take the course in a different university. So flexibility is the key here, and there is definitely an understanding and empathy in how difficult it is for some people to be working in this way. That is understandable, because people have children, people have small children who running around in the house, and when they see Mama and Papa in the house, of course they expect Papa to cook and Mama to teach. Yes, Papa to cook and Mama to teach. And so they expect the attention 24/7, like as if it was a weekend. Yes, I do know that. But like I said, the sooner we get used to the idea of this new normal, the sooner we get used to the idea of having to function every day in this way, then you adapt. You adapt and you put in your own system on how you might be able to handle, in the home front, the how you're going to handle that, and at the same time function for your career and and the work that you have to accomplish. I'm sorry,
Thank you.
I don't have I don't have an easy solution to it. But adaptability is key.
Okay, thank you, Prof. If we can move on, there's also some questions about, I guess in a way, it's about adaptability. There are some questions asking, is it possible to postpone the semester until the MCO is lifted so that people can actually focus and work in the office rather than working from home? And also in relation to that, there is also a question about conducting the special semester. So how do those two things work?
Okay. Well, if we were to postpone the semester, if we were to postpone semester 2, then semester has is not possible. Now, when we worked out the academic calendar, one of the things that we wanted to uh, ensure uh, um, was that students who are supposed to graduate this year will be able to graduate this year. So, in looking at that scenario, we wanted to ensure that semester has will still be able to carry on. Okay. Um, you mentioned that the question was on whether we can actually postpone our semester until until the MCO is lifted. We don't know when the MCO is going to be lifted. I thought it was going to be lifted on the 28th of April, but that's just me. I'm just being naive, and you know, a part of me, like I told you that the sooner we accept the facts and not be in denial. I myself was in denial, even knowing the fact that the government was really going for a single digit infected uh, patient, because we had gone down in numbers, because we we the government wanted to implement the MCO basically to flatten the curve, right? So that there is not a rise in the number of those infected with COVID-19. But because we had implemented the MCO effectively, we were not even flattening the curve. The numbers are actually going down. It's not flattening anymore, it's going down. So, of course, I was, very, very hopeful that the MCO is going to be lifted next week. But then again, um, I guess the PM knows better because he is advised by the right people around him. And obviously, everybody knows that it's going to be another 2 weeks at least. Because he did say last night, after he said that the MCO is extended until May 12th, he also said that perhaps, there will be another extension after May 12th. So we don't know. Some universities, I know some of the students are asking, why can't we actually postpone until 1st of June? Why can't we postpone until MCO is over? Now that answers that question about why we cannot postpone until MCO is over, because we don't know when MCO is going to be over. Why we couldn't postpone until 1st June? Well, it's very convenient, isn't it? 1st June is when Hari Raya is over. But then again, what we had wanted to take into consideration when we looked at adjusting the calendar was to ensure that semester has is still available for students who are graduating this year. So whatever courses that may be open, it's only open to those who are in their graduating year. Apart from that, once, hopefully, if the MCO, even if the MCO is lifted at the end of May, for example, I don't know. Don't quote me. Don't say that the NCA say it's going to be until the end of May. I don't know. Okay, I'm just throwing you a hypothetical date. So if, let's just say, if it ends at the end of May, at least we have June, July, August, and maybe even September. So even if it doesn't end of May, if it goes on until June, we still have those few months before the start of the new academic session for students who need to have the face-to-face practical to be able to carry that out. People who need to do clinical work, the nurses, teaching practice. Well, I don't know about teaching practice. Counseling, the architecture students who need to go to the studio, the dance students. So these are the sports science students. Okay, these are just examples of those students who actually have done a portion of the course, but they will not be able to get the grade until they finish the practical part of the course. So I'd like to have those months for them to be able to do that. So those are some of the things. Maybe that's not everything, but those are some of the things that we had considered when we adjusted the calendar. And we knew that we were going to conduct the courses online anyway. So that's another reason why there's no reason for us to postpone it to a later date.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation about that, Prof. Prof, we still have a number of questions that we're going to go through. We're going to touch on but if I can invite everybody to take a quick short break, it's very important during these types of webinars, as we do during our face-to-face meetings, that we take a short break. So let us take a break for 5 minutes. That should be enough for us to stretch, and maybe don't leave the meeting. Just, we can just get up, move around a little bit, and come back in 5 minutes at precisely 2:20 p.m. So we'll see you all in a little bit. You too, Prof.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I need to stretch. Thank you
Yes,
for
let's
that.
all stretch. I'm going to turn off my camera and stretch. Okay, everybody. I think we'll be starting in a few moments. I hope everyone got a little bit of time to stretch with that short 5 minutes break. Okay, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to as well, Prof. Kamila. Glad to see that you managed to take a rest from the chair and move around. Okay, everyone. So we'll continue on with the questions. So just now I mentioned a few questions that we will still need to cover. So one of the questions here, a number of students are asking about their fees. Can they get reduced fees? And can they also postpone their candidature? And what will happen with their candidature and their fees if they postpone it?
Okay. As far as fees is concerned, I believe, but this has not been sorted out. But there was one category of fees, and this also came from the student union, and I had brought this up with the vice chancellor and the deputy vice chancellor of student affairs, and I think what the student union had requested as in terms of the reduced fees, I think the management is looking into that. But then it's not going to be a cashback. If it is approved, it will be brought forward to the next semester. Okay, that's as far as I can say for now. And then the other was what happens if they withdraw from the semester? Yes, they can withdraw from the semester for a course or the whole semester. I don't know. Maybe they're just talking about the particular courses that they took for this semester. Yes, we do have a mechanism in place that where they can withdraw from the semester. But what we are doing is we are looking into giving them more time to make that decision to withdraw. But I cannot actually confirm, which week and all that, because this is going to be brought to the Senate meeting next week. Yeah, because the provision to withdraw from the semester is there. Okay, so what we will be bringing to the Senate next week is for the Senate agreement to extend it a little bit more than what the current period is. Okay, so that will make it easier for the students, so they will not be in a rush to withdraw by the normal time, or what the time that was set previously. We just want to extend it a little bit more so that they have more time. Yeah.
Okay, so with regards to extending the semester, actually there's also a question, is it possible to prolong the payment of fees? I think that probably means that if they're supposed to pay the fee, say, within a certain time or within a certain semester, can they bring it forward, maybe pay it, a little bit later, or have a longer period to pay? And there's also a question, can fees be reduced, taking into consideration that, a lot of people are actually getting salaries cut and losing their jobs?
Yeah. Okay. So getting fees reduced, I've already answered that question just now, because this was something that was brought up by the student union. So a certain portion of the fees is being considered. We have not actually looked at extending the period of payment for fees. No, I think that will run as normal, because a lot of students are on PTPTN, so that's not going to stop. Yeah. And apart from that, for the moment, that's all I can say about that, because we have not brought any kind of decision on other fee reduction for discussion. Yeah. But then I know that there will be some changes in terms of fees for accommodation.
Okay, so thank you.
I cannot hear you, Dr. Amira.
In terms of reduction of fees, there'll be some fees that we probably... Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Prof. Can you hear me now?
There's a bit of a lag.
Okay, my apologies for that. Yeah, this happens. Yeah, there's a bit of a lag. Okay, I'll try to speak slowly. So now, obviously, we're worried about fees, and we've discussed a little bit about that just now. Lecturers are also similarly, we're asking whether or not the KPI can be changed in view of not being able to do research, so much more work for the teaching.
Yeah. Actually, everybody knows that this has already been announced, that the KPI for this year has been postponed, because we were supposed to actually submit. We were supposed to submit sometime in March, if I'm not mistaken, and then it was postponed until the end of March, and then now it's been postponed altogether until the 30th of June. So in terms of the KPI, we know that there will not be CTES, okay? So that's not in the KPI. As far as the online teaching, uh, uh, is as far as that goes, we will be adjusting the KPI to reflect. I'm just speaking of A&A portfolio, okay? So there will be an adjustment in term to reflect what we are going through right now as far as teaching and learning is concerned. Yeah, because even though we are teaching online, we must make sure, like I mentioned this at the very start, we must make sure that the quality features are in place. For example, when we have the alternative delivery methods, we must make sure that we are covering the cross-learning outcomes. Okay, and this was also stressed by the industry yesterday. You must make sure that evidence is in place. That the evidence is in place to show that the learning outcomes have been achieved. So, whatever kind of methods that we use in teaching, in assessment, they have to be properly recorded and they have to be properly documented to show evidence that that had taken place. So perhaps one of the things that we might adjust in online learning, in the KPI, is to take into consideration the alternative delivery methods that we are incorporating in the system now.
Okay, Prav, now that you've mentioned that, there's some questions, I think, about some misconceptions, if you can perhaps address that. So I'll list some of those questions. One is a misconception or a question asking whether or not exams can be done face to face for students, less than 20 students. That's one. Another one is, do classes have to be taught at the exact same scheduled time as it is previously? And I've got another question about the pass-fail assessment, but I guess if Prof can address the first two questions first.
Okay. Now, as the scheduling, scheduling has to be worked out with the faculties. Okay, because there is already a schedule of classes, and that's what the lecturers will follow. How they are going to carry out their lessons is going to be really quite different from how we normally conduct, because some lecturers may just have some of their lessons not at the same time as how we are doing it right now. So that really depends on what kind of methods the individual lecturers would like to what the department has decided on and the faculty. So that's something that students will have to check with their own lecturers and the faculties. The second question was on exam. Now, we have already put into Senate, and Senate has passed that. Okay, let me just say a little bit of backstory for the students who are in this webinar. Yeah? The function of the Senate, the Senate is the highest academic body of the university. So who are the Senate members? The Senate members are the deans and some appointed academic staff. Then they are appointed by virtue of the position, or they are appointed, there is also a provision for the Vice Chancellor to choose who he wants to be in the Senate. Okay, so there are about 50 people in the Senate. So as I mentioned just now, the Senate is the highest academic body of the university. So whatever decisions that we make in the university, as long as they are academic matters, they have to be passed by the Senate. Okay, and just now I mentioned earlier that to withdraw from the semester, the provision is already there. But next week we are going to have a meeting with the Senate. We're going to have a Senate meeting, and at that meeting we are going to decide on whether we can actually push the date to a later time. Okay, so now the question is on face-to-face examinations. We had either last month or 2 months ago when the MCO came up, what we had worked out was so that there will not be a sit-down exam for big groups of students. So Senate has to decide on that. So we had put it through Senate, and Senate had passed that instead of having face-to-face sit-down exams, lecturers can decide to use alternative means to assess the students' summative work. Okay. Now, at the moment, what we had put down, the condition was that there will not be any face-to-face exams for classes which have less than, no, for classes which have more than 20 people. And it is allowable to have a sit-down face-to-face exam if there are fewer than 20 people. Now, the reason for that is because obviously everybody knows we have to practice social distancing. So even when the MCO is lifted, we still have to practice social distancing. So if the group is too big, then there will not be enough space to, space out people. So that's why there has to be very few students. But what I had also informed the deans and deputy deans is that they have to make sure, even if the class has fewer than 20 people, they must make sure, if they want to have a sit-down exam, they must make sure that uh, that the students are physically able to be there, because some of our students have gone back to their home countries for one, and some of our students have gone back home to their kampong or wherever they live, wherever their family lives, they have gone back. And as you heard from the Prime Minister last night, the likelihood of the movement of students back to campus is still up in the air. We don't know. We don't know whether students are going to be allowed back to campus. So if your class is less than 20 people, and we don't know that, if there is going to be an SOP specific to the red zone, bear in mind we are in the red zone, that is going to be very, very strict, that perhaps people will not be allowed to come back to campus at all. So we have to bear that in mind, and lecturers will just have to be prepared for alternative assessment methods instead of a sit-down exam, even if there are fewer than 20 people in the class.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Prof.
One last question. I didn't answer your third question.
Yes.
The survey went out for pass-fail. Now, again, that is something that we will have to deliberate at the Senate meeting next week. We don't have any decision on that yet. Okay, we have some analysis, we have some feedback, but it's not conclusive yet. In fact, stakeholders have also been asked. So we have also reached out to the professional boards to get their feedback on the pass-fail. So I don't have a decision on that yet. Okay?
Okay, so we'll be hearing about that a little while later because there is no decision on that yet right now. So it's good to at least know that there's a bit of a time frame that people can expect to hear about that. So now just everybody, just to highlight that it is 2:40 p.m. right now. I know that we've been online for quite a while, so let me just check first with Prof. Kamila. Would it be okay to continue on until, say, about 2:55 before 3 o'clock? Or do you have another meeting that you need to actually attend to?
I do have another meeting. I think we might be able to carry on until like for another 10 minutes, if that's all right.
Okay, another 10 minutes would be just
Yeah.
good. I think just
But then
enough.
people can leave
So,
anytime they want, right? Ah, okay.
yes, yes,
So not holding
yes,
anybody
you don't have to
back.
say.
If you want to leave, you're not being rude. If you need to leave, you go ahead and leave. If you need to go get lunch.
For those of you not fasting,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
not for those fasting. We've already started fasting today, first Ramadan.
Okay.
So, just a couple of like wrap up questions. We actually initially had wanted to invite a couple of lecturers who had submitted their questions, but because of the change of platforms, so let me just call out their names if they wish to actually to submit their questions. You can probably just open up your mic. So those three, by the way, as mentioned in the form, we would have a selection of people, and we could only select people who actually gave their names and their email addresses. I'm actually going through my chat right now, trying to find those three names. So if I could get somebody from ADAC to please repost those names, and I will call out to them. But before that, Prof, a
Yeah.
couple of questions that we have not yet covered. One is actually if Prof can just clarify on air for everybody to hear. Okay, the question is it mandatory for lecturers to do online assessment during the exam period? Like, is it mandatory that lecturers must actually do an exam online?
You mean well, as opposed to what?
Okay, so I think the question actually was there were a couple of questions from lecturers saying, do I have to teach via webcam? Can I not teach via Zoom and have like asynchronous classes? So that was one that probably needs a bit of clarification.
Okay. Can I get that first? Can I
Second
answer?
one, there was also confusion. Some lecturers asking. Yes, Prof, you
Yeah,
can go
let me
ahead.
just get that one first. I mentioned at the very start that ADEC had run a good number of training sessions on alternative delivery methods. Yeah, so no, I think ADEC would have run a session on low tech delivery method, right? And various different other kinds of delivery methods, not necessarily just through uh, face-to-face Zoom meetings and so on, right? So you can actually be really quite creative in the way that you want to conduct your class. And they may not necessarily be just online. And I mentioned just now, not everything needs the internet, because people have been doing distance learning since God knows how many decades back. So there are so many different other ways that you can do it. You don't have to get on camera and to do this. But at the same time, I cannot stress enough, whatever you do, however you want to do it, you must make sure that you achieve the learning outcome, that you must make sure that the course learning outcomes are achieved. And that is what you need to assess the students on. And on whether you have to have an exam online, again, there are so many different methods of assessments, and this is actually very clearly laid out in the guidelines that I had mentioned earlier in the hour, where that guidelines give you so many different ways that you can actually assess the students, not necessarily just through setting questions on spectrum and getting them to answer at the same time. So yeah, you could ask them to do a portfolio of everything that they had learned during the whole semester. You can ask them to write an essay and email to you. You can get them to, I don't know. There are countless ways, right? Self-reflection and all that. All that was spelled out in the guidelines, and you just need to refer and follow.
Yeah, and if I may also add to that, Prof, ADEC website has a range of
Mm,
resources and ideas as well that you can refer to, as well
yeah.
as our Telegram and WhatsApp channels.
Right, right. Okay. And, you know, a lot of these things, a lot of these items that we brought up for discussion during this past hour had been sent out and circulated. But if you had missed them, you can find them in the academic website. It's actually the TNCA punya website. It's umacademic.um.edu.my, I think. But
Okay,
it's
let me try to type
okay.
academic.
Academic, Academic, not at umacademic dot um.edu.my.
Okay, I've typed that in the chat, and I hope that that will come
Yeah.
out. We will be finishing up in just a few minutes. So I have one question. Thank you. These very quick ones.
Thank you, YK.
One,
Mm.
yes, you can see that. Is there are students who are actually staying 5 kilometers further outside of the campus. So those who are actually living further than the 5 km radius from is University Maya giving any assistance to them?
Oh, you mean what TNCHEP has been distributing?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Actually, I'm not sure about the 5 kilometers thing, but then they have been diligently sending food, the dry food, yeah, to students who are living outside of campus. But you have to register with them. You have to register with them. That's their modus operandi, because they will not know, uh, you know, they will not know if you don't register with them.
Okay, all right. So anybody who needs to actually, students that need to request for help need to get in touch
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Haliwal Plaja or Student
right,
Affairs and register.
yeah.
Okay, we've got one question actually in here. Actually, you've already covered it just now, Prof. But if you don't mind, just reassuring or re-explaining again, how about students that have already paid fees in full amount before it's reduced? And I think you mentioned just now that there's not actually an actual reduction in fees.
No,
Yeah.
no. Actually, we don't. Like I said, there's no confirmed decision on that yet. So let's wait for the confirmed decision first, and then I suppose it will be handled case by case.
Okay, and just a couple more of sort of random question is there are some questions about, a lot of things that we do in require signatures. For example, students doing research or even forms that we need to fill out. Do you have any advice for people who need to get things done that actually require signatures? Since we
Actually,
can't get the signatures, yeah.
right. Actually, we have converted a lot of things online. I have approved of a lot of things online, and my email will function as as good as documented, signed uh, approval. So whoever is you need the signature from, just reach out and ask them.
Yeah, and I believe I guess that means that an email from the official
Yeah,
email,
right.
yeah, should
That's right.
suffice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think we would need to wrap up now. So before we do that, however, Prof, are there any final words that you would like to share with everybody?
I think I said a lot already. I said so much already. I think it's like, yeah, an overload of information. Well, I suppose what I could say is, to again reiterate that we just have to accept it and move on. We just have to accept that this is the new normal. People are going to be sick and tired of hearing that term. But then, the sooner we get used to this new way of living and this new way of working, the easier it will be for us. So the university management and and all the various different uh, departments under my portfolio. At least I can speak for on behalf of. We are there to assist, we're there to help. So if you have any queries, if you have any problems, do reach out, email, my email address, and we'll see how we might be able to get through this together. We cannot do this alone, we have to do it together. And stay strong, be creative, be dynamic, and take the opportunity to evolve and revolutionize your curriculum and your course. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm seeing so many people that I find so familiar, and some of you are sending me separate messages. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your patience in waiting. And yeah, remember, we're doing this together. When you're not alone. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Those are important parting messages.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll catch up online in our different teams. Okay, Assalamualaikum and selamat berpuasa. Belum lagi.
Yeah, selamat berpuasa, everybody. Have a good week. Next week. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Okay, bye. Anybody who is still here, I apologize. I forgot to mention we have a online feedback form for all of our events for ADAC. So it's actually on the screen right now. You can scan the QR code to submit your feedback, or you can also copy or take a screenshot of the form link and just send us your feedback. So thank you so much again, everybody. Stay safe and stay well. All the best for next week. Assalamualaikum.